January 1985. The Scottish Highlands are cloaked in frost. A thin mist curls over the tarmac at RAF Lossiemouth. Engines idle. The low hum vibrates through boots and steel, a prelude to the storm of sounds soon to come. On the runway, a Panavia Tornado stands poised, sleek, angular, and unapologetically modern. Its dark camouflage blends with the winter sky, a predator waiting in silence. Pilots climb into the cockpit, gloves snapping, helmets clicking. In the distance, the roar of F-16s echoes from a NATO exercise sector. Across the Alliance, whispers circulate. The Tornado is slower, heavier, clunky compared to the nimble American fighters. Inside the cockpit, the pilot's eyes scan the radar, fingers caressing the throttle. The challenge is clear. 5 F-16s will cross paths in the next exercise run. A test, yes, but also a proving ground. The wind bites, engines ignite, vapor trails twist into the sky. In seconds, the Tornado will leap into the cold Scottish air, an underdog against a fighter jet legend. The world outside expects one thing: the Tornado will be outmaneuvered. But the next minutes will tell a different story, one of skill, technology, and the quiet humiliation of underestimation. The 1970s were a turbulent decade for military aviation. Europe's skies were under constant scrutiny. NATO needed aircraft capable of operating at low altitude, in all weather, and at supersonic speeds, while delivering precision strikes against fortified targets. Britain, Germany, and Italy sought a joint solution, one that could counter Warsaw Pact defenses without forcing each nation to reinvent the wheel. The result was the Panavia Tornado, a multi-role fighter bomber conceived not in a single nation's hangar, but in the shared corridors of European aerospace collaboration. The Tornado's development began in 1969 under the Tri-National Tornado Development (TTD) program. The RAF's primary interest was the interdictor strike variant, designed for low-level penetration, high-speed attacks, and electronic warfare support. Engineers faced formidable challenges, creating variable geometry wings to balance supersonic speed with low-speed maneuverability, integrating terrain-following radar to navigate valleys and mountains at treetop level, and ensuring weapon systems could strike with precision in the face of advanced enemy air defenses. The Tornado was unlike anything the RAF had flown before. Its cockpit brimmed with switches, dials, and displays, a pilot's orchestration of electronics as much as raw aerodynamics. Yet, outside Britain, skepticism ran deep. Across the Atlantic, American pilots in the F-16 community regarded the Tornado as a lumbering strike aircraft, designed for bombing runs rather than air-to-air combat. To them, the lightweight, agile F-16 Fighting Falcon represented the pinnacle of fighter engineering, fast, responsive, lethal in dogfights. Comparisons were inevitable, often unkind. The Tornado, slow, heavy, over-engineered, one U.S. fighter squadron officer reportedly said during a NATO briefing in the early 1980s. The contrast could not have been starker. Where the F-16 emphasized agility and air superiority, the Tornado emphasized versatility and survivability. Its two-man crew, a pilot and a navigator, weapons systems officer, worked in concert, managing radar, ECM, navigation, and weapon release under conditions that would overwhelm a solo pilot. The Tornado's strength lay not in raw speed, but in orchestration, a combination of radar-guided strikes, terrain masking, and electronic countermeasures. By 1982, the first Tornado GR-1s entered RAF service. Initial training flights revealed both promise and limitation. The aircraft's variable sweep wings allowed for extraordinary low-altitude speed, diving through valleys at 600 knots while maintaining stability. Pilots learned quickly that the Tornado demanded respect. Aggressive handling at the wrong angle could punish, but careful mastery revealed a machine built for both finesse and brute force. Meanwhile, NATO exercises increasingly brought the Tornado into proximity with F-16 units. The initial encounters were under controlled conditions, but already murmurs began. The Tornado, underestimated by many, could hold its own, and sometimes dominate in ways the F-16 community had not anticipated. At the same time, Europe's political landscape added urgency. The Cold War remained a silent but persistent threat. Soviet radar networks along the East German border, surface-to-air missile sites, and interceptors in Poland and Czechoslovakia demanded aircraft that could fly low, fast, and undetected. The Tornado's design was tailored precisely for this environment. Its terrain-following radar allowed pilots to maintain treetop flight at night or in poor weather, evading detection while positioning for a strike. The F-16, while supremely capable in dogfight scenarios, lacked the same low-level penetration capability, another reason NATO planners kept close tabs on Tornado development. By 1984, the stage was set. NATO's annual exercises, designed to simulate real combat, increasingly paired Tornado units against F-16 squadrons. The official mission: evaluate interoperability, test tactics, and refine doctrine. The unofficial narrative, however, was far more charged. Across briefing rooms and mess halls, pilots debated. Could a slow, lumbering bomber truly challenge the nimble American fighters? The answer would not come from slides or simulations. It would come from the skies themselves. The first exercises in the Scottish Highlands and over northern Germany produced surprising results. Tornado crews leveraging radar-guided strikes, low-level flight, and coordinated team tactics consistently outmaneuvered American counterparts in mock scenarios. These victories were small, often measured in points and debrief notes, but they were undeniable. The aircraft once mocked in corridors now began to earn grudging respect, and yet skepticism remained. Many observers assumed these outcomes were flukes, the result of inexperienced F-16 pilots or carefully curated exercise conditions. The broader question lingered. Could the Tornado replicate these feats under pressure, against multiple adversaries, in a realistic operational environment? This doubt would define the next phase, where pilots and machines alike would be tested, and where reputation, skill, and technology would collide in the cold, unforgiving air of a NATO exercise. The air was tense, the challenge imminent. From this crucible of exercises, the Tornado would soon step into the kind of test that separates legend from expectation. By the mid-1980s, the Panavia Tornado had matured from prototype to a fully operational strike aircraft within the Royal Air Force. Its presence was felt across NATO air bases, from the misty Scottish Highlands to the rolling plains of West Germany. While the aircraft was now reliable in training and operational deployments, its reputation among allies remained mixed. In particular, American F-16 pilots, widely regarded as some of the world's most skilled, continued to view the Tornado as a specialized bomber rather than a versatile air-to-air platform. This perception was shaped in part by doctrine and design. The Tornado GR Poisson, while fast and agile at low altitude, was heavier than most single-seat fighters. Its primary mission was interdiction, deep strikes against enemy airfields, radar installations, and supply lines. Unlike the F-16, designed for air superiority and multi-role flexibility, the Tornado relied heavily on two-man coordination. The pilot managed flight and weapons release, while the navigator and weapons systems officer handled radar, terrain-following guidance, and electronic countermeasures. This division of labor allowed the Tornado to execute complex, high-risk missions that would have overwhelmed a single-seat fighter, but it also contributed to its reputation as less nimble in dogfights. Despite these perceptions, NATO planners recognized the Tornado's unique strengths. Its advanced terrain-following radar allowed sustained low-level flight in poor weather or at night, a critical capability for penetrating dense air defenses. Twin turbojet engines provided sufficient thrust for rapid acceleration during attacks, and the variable sweep wings offered stability across speed ranges from landing approach to supersonic dash. Electronic countermeasures, integrated into the Tornado's avionics suite, could jam enemy radar or misdirect surface-to-air missiles, a feature American F-16s had to account for when engaging the aircraft in exercises. The stage for these encounters was set during NATO's regular winter exercises, particularly those simulating multi-aircraft engagements in contested European airspace. Tornado crews were paired against F-16 units in mock interdiction and interception missions. The objectives were clear: test coordination, evaluate electronic warfare capabilities, and measure aircraft performance under realistic stress conditions. What transpired, however, often surprised both planners and pilots. In the exercises, Tornado crews exploited their aircraft's strengths with disciplined precision. Flying at altitudes barely above the tree line, they navigated valleys and ridgelines, using terrain masking to evade F-16 radar coverage. The navigator constantly updated targeting and threat data, while the pilot executed high-speed turns and low-level maneuvers that leveraged the Tornado's variable wings. In multiple simulated engagements, the Tornado emerged from cloud and mist to intercept or eliminate the more agile F-16s before they could respond effectively. Debriefing reports noted consistent patterns. Tornado teams capitalized on coordination, electronic warfare, and disciplined low-level tactics to neutralize opponents who relied on agility and speed alone. For American pilots, the experience was humbling. While they retained clear advantages in dogfighting, the Tornado's combination of tactics and technology exposed gaps in conventional assumptions. Analysts noted that F-16 pilots underestimated the aircraft's operational envelope and multi-role capabilities. The exercises forced a re-evaluation. Air combat was no longer solely a contest of speed and maneuverability. Electronic warfare, situational coordination, and terrain exploitation could decisively shift outcomes. By late 1984, whispers among NATO officers transformed into grudging acknowledgement. The Tornado had proven itself not only capable of surviving against superior numbers, but also of imposing operational surprises that challenged even the most confident American pilots. These training encounters laid the groundwork for the narrative that would follow, a tale of underestimation, skill, and the quiet dominance of an aircraft once dismissed as too heavy, too specialized, too British. And so, with Cold War tensions as a backdrop, and NATO's air forces poised in the northern skies, the next chapter was set. Pilots and planners alike would soon witness a confrontation, structured, controlled, but charged with the intensity of genuine challenge, that would redefine the Tornado's reputation. The moment when skepticism met reality was fast approaching. Inside the Tornado's cockpit, the air is electric with focus. Two figures, pilot and navigator, operate as one. Each switch, dial, and throttle adjustment carries consequences. Unlike the single-seat F-16, where split-second reflexes dominate, the Tornado demands coordination. The pilot maneuvers, dives, and banks, while the navigator manages radar, identifies threats, and calculates intercepts. Success is measured in timing, the perfect low-level pass, the precise release of a simulated ordnance, or the timely activation of electronic countermeasures. The psychological weight is intense. Rumors about the Tornado's sluggishness are known to the crews. Every exercise with F-16 units becomes a proving ground. The first few runs are cautious. Mistakes are noted, lessons internalized. Confidence grows with repetition. Pilots report a feeling unlike any other aircraft, a sense of both vulnerability and immense capability. The aircraft demands respect, and in return, it rewards ingenuity, patience, and trust in one's wingman. By the time an exercise pairs a single Tornado against multiple F-16s, nerves are taut. Every maneuver is calculated, every radar blip scrutinized. When the aircraft executes a perfectly timed high-speed climb through a valley or slips past radar coverage, exhilaration and relief are immediate. These are moments that define careers. For the pilots, it is not merely about winning an exercise. It is about proving that skill, coordination, and mastery of technology can overcome assumptions and prejudice. The Tornado's design emphasizes mission-specific tactics. Unlike fighters built for dogfights, the Tornado thrives on low-level ingress and egress. In training scenarios against F-16s, this becomes crucial. Flying at treetop altitude, Tornado crews exploit terrain masking to evade radar detection. Valleys, ridgelines, and subtle shifts in elevation are not just geography. They are tools in a tactical playbook. In a simulated encounter with 5 F-16s, the Tornado's approach is methodical. First, electronic countermeasures disrupt enemy radar. Then, high-speed passes through low-lying terrain create the illusion of the unpredictable movement. F-16 pilots, expecting conventional flight paths, often misjudge positioning. The Tornado capitalizes on timing and sequencing. The aircraft does not rely solely on agility. It relies on strategy. Coordinated strikes, evasion, and exploiting gaps in the opposition's formation. These tactics are rigorously rehearsed. Every exercise produces debriefings that refine approach angles, radar usage, and engagement windows. Over time, tornado crews develop a rhythm, an almost musical synchronization between man and machine. When executed flawlessly, it becomes clear that the tornado is not a lumbering bomber. It is a tactical predator, capable of shaping the battlefield before the enemy can respond. The tornado is as much a technological marvel as it is a pilot's challenge. Its terrain-following radar allows sustained flight at altitudes as low as 100 feet at supersonic speeds, a feature unmatched in many contemporary aircraft. Electronic countermeasure systems, integrated into the avionics suite, provide real-time jamming and threat suppression. Pilots can release chaff, flare, or deploy electronic deception, forcing opponents to rely on instinct and reaction rather than certainty. Weapons integration is equally sophisticated. The tornado can deliver precision-guided bombs, rockets, and air-to-air missiles, often within the same mission profile. Its swing-wing design allows stability at varying speeds and angles, making rapid dives or evasive maneuvers smoother than heavier conventional aircraft. During exercises, this technological edge proves decisive. F-16 pilots, trained to rely on speed and turning radius, often find their assumptions tested against a plane that blends electronic dominance with precise kinetic potential. The synergy between human and machine is critical. Without careful coordination, the avionics are overwhelming, but when fully harnessed, the tornado systems offer situational awareness and offensive capability that even multiple adversaries cannot easily counter. Technology does not replace skill, it amplifies it. RAF leadership recognized early that the tornado's capabilities demanded new doctrine. Training emphasized teamwork over individual heroics. Squadron leaders cultivated cohesion between pilots, navigators, and ground controllers. Exercises with NATO partners were carefully planned to test not only aircraft, but decision-making under pressure. Commanders encouraged bold, yet calculated risk-taking. Crews were given freedom to explore unconventional flight paths, innovate electronic warfare strategies, and challenge assumptions about air superiority. The results were transformative. While American F-16 units focused on agility and dogfight dominance, tornado squadrons leveraged preparation, coordination, and strategic application of their aircraft's full capabilities. These leadership philosophies extended beyond the cockpit. RAF commanders studied exercise results meticulously, identifying where tactics succeeded or failed. Lessons were codified, training programs updated, and doctrine adapted. The tornado became not just a plane, but a testament to organizational foresight, an aircraft that thrived because its pilots and leaders understood both its potential and its limits. From the F-16 cockpit, the tornado appeared, at first glance, almost unremarkable, heavier, slower, less agile. Many American pilots approached NATO exercises confident that their superior turning radius and acceleration would dominate any encounter. Yet, reality on the radar screen and in the valleys below often told a different story. F-16 crews quickly learned that the tornado operated on a fundamentally different rhythm. It did not match the Fighting Falcon in a vertical dogfight, but it excelled in coordination and terrain exploitation. Low-level passes, radar deception, and split-second teamwork often allowed a single tornado to evade multiple adversaries. Pilots reported moments of disbelief, a tornado seemingly disappearing only to reappear in an advantageous position, or neutralizing mock attacks with electronic countermeasures that disrupted radar-guided intercepts. Debriefings revealed a subtle but growing respect. While initial encounters emphasized American confidence, repeated exercises forced pilots to reconsider their assumptions. The tornado's effectiveness was not merely a fluke of numbers. It was the product of deliberate tactics, technological integration, and human mastery. In the halls of NATO air bases, informal conversations shifted from derision to admiration, tinged with frustration at being outmaneuvered in scenarios once considered straightforward. The tornado's quiet victories carried a human weight beyond the cockpit. For British crews, each successful exercise against an F-16 reinforced a sense of pride and validation. It was more than a technical achievement. It was an emotional vindication. Years of skepticism, of being labeled heavy, outdated, or over-engineered, were challenged by measurable results in controlled, rigorous encounters. For NATO leadership, the exercises offered both lessons and surprises. They demonstrated that assumptions about aircraft performance could be misleading, that technology alone did not guarantee supremacy, and that human factors, training, coordination, adaptability, were equally decisive. The psychological impact extended beyond pride. It fostered trust in Allied capabilities and underscored the need to respect diverse design philosophies. In the air, the Tornado became more than an aircraft. It became a symbol that capability cannot be judged by appearance or speed alone, that preparation, teamwork, and mastery of one's tools can overturn conventional wisdom. And for those American pilots who had once mocked it, encountering the Tornado in exercises was a lesson in humility, one that would influence training, doctrine, and inter-allied respect for years to come. These perspectives, enemy and psychological, complete the mosaic. The Tornado's human skill, tactical brilliance, technological edge, and strategic leadership now intersect with the perceptions it challenged and the respect it earned. The next chapter is where all these elements converge. The climax, the decisive moment when Tornado's underestimated capabilities are tested against multiple F-16s in a controlled but intensely realistic scenario, producing results that will define its legacy. March 1985. The Scottish sky is steel gray, a frozen ceiling pressing down on the Highlands. Winds whip across the ridges, rattling aircraft hangars, and carrying a bitter edge into the cockpits of NATO pilots assembled for a simulated engagement. At RAF Lossiemouth, a single Tornado GR-1 taxis into position. Its engines roar to life, low rumble growing into a resonant cry that echoes across the tarmac. 5 F-16s, sleek and silver, streak into formation from the north, radar signatures bright against the cold atmosphere. This is no ordinary exercise. NATO planners have constructed a scenario designed to test every facet of multi-aircraft coordination, low-level penetration, and electronic warfare. The Tornado is alone against 5 American fighters, each flown by seasoned pilots accustomed to agility and aerial dominance. On paper, the odds are stacked. The Tornado is heavier, its acceleration slower, and its turning radius limited. But on this morning, skill and strategy are about to rewrite expectations. The Tornado lifts into the misty air, wings sweeping back for supersonic speed. The navigator immediately activates the terrain-following radar, scanning valleys and ridgelines, plotting a path that minimizes exposure to simulated threats. The pilot pushes the throttle forward, diving into a low-altitude run along the Spey Valley, barely above the treetops. Radio chatter crackles. Red Team, contact at 3 o'clock low, maintaining speed, engaging. The F-16s fan out, attempting to encircle. Their strategy relies on superior speed and agility. Isolate, pursue, and overwhelm. Yet the Tornado is a master of deception. Electronic countermeasures pulse, jamming radar tracking and creating false signatures. The aircraft twists through valleys, banks around ridges, and suddenly climbs with a violent surge, appearing behind 2 of the interceptors before they can react. Each maneuver is meticulously calculated. The pilot coordinates with the navigator. One monitors incoming threats. The other adjusts the flight path, timing climbs and dives to perfection. The Tornado leverages its swing-wing design, transitioning from low-speed, tight turns in valleys to supersonic bursts in open terrain. The F-16 pilots react instinctively, expecting traditional patterns, only to find themselves countered at every step. A mock missile alert sounds. The Tornado executes a series of defensive maneuvers. Flares and electronic countermeasures disrupt targeting systems, forcing the F-16s to break formation. In a sequence barely 30 seconds long, the Tornado moves from a vulnerable position to one of dominance. The training engagement simulates multiple kills. The Tornado emerges unscathed, the F-16s forced into evasive action. Observers on the ground record the events in stunned silence. Flight data indicates near-perfect execution of mission parameters, low-altitude penetration, threat suppression, and simulated engagement success. Analysts will later note the precision. The Tornado exploited every advantage of terrain, electronic warfare, and pilot coordination. 5 against 1 was not merely survived. It was a demonstration of tactical mastery. Even the F-16 pilots acknowledged the outcome in post-flight debriefs. Comments range from, "We underestimated the coordination," to, "The aircraft systems give them an edge we didn't anticipate." Training exercises, designed to test interoperability, have inadvertently delivered a powerful message. The Tornado is no lumbering bomber. It is a precise, disciplined, and lethal strike aircraft capable of challenging multiple modern fighters simultaneously. In the control tower, squadron leaders exchange glances. Years of skepticism, reports of sluggishness, doubt over maneuverability, dissolve under the cold clarity of evidence. The aircraft has spoken through action. NATO doctrine is enriched, pilot confidence grows, and the perception of the Tornado as merely a specialized strike aircraft begins to shift. As the Tornado banks and disappears into the mist, its shadow crossing the snow-dusted hills, the significance is clear. This was not luck, nor an anomaly of simulation. It is the convergence of human skill, technological sophistication, tactical brilliance, and leadership vision. In this single intense episode, the aircraft once mocked has proven its worth decisively. The aftermath of the simulated engagement is immediate, even before the Tornado returns to the runway. Radar screens record the precise maneuvers, climbs, dives, banking angles, and decoys executed with flawless timing. Flight data reveals that in 30 intense minutes, the Tornado had successfully evaded 5 F-16s, simulated missile locks neutralized by electronic countermeasures, and strategic positioning exploited to achieve multiple kills. The raw numbers tell one story, but the human reactions tell another. Back in the control tower, NATO observers confer in hushed tones. Flight data officers replay the sequences, frame by frame. Every evasive maneuver, every radar deception is analyzed. There is a collective acknowledgement that the Tornado's performance surpasses expectations. Where doctrine suggested the F-16's speed and agility would dominate, the combination of human skill, coordinated tactics, and technological advantage tipped the scales. The scenario was designed as a learning exercise, but the lesson is unmistakable. Underestimating the Tornado is a mistake. Debriefings bring the pilots face to face. The Tornado crew is calm, professional, but aware of the significance. The F-16 pilots, seasoned and confident, are candid. One senior officer notes, "I didn't expect them to use terrain and ECM so effectively. It was impressive." Another adds, "Coordination between pilot and navigator gave them an edge we couldn't anticipate." That's not just aircraft. It's training, discipline, and precision. Respect is grudgingly granted, but it is genuine. The outcome has altered perceptions within the alliance. On the ground, technical officers review radar logs, electronic countermeasure patterns, and weapon simulation data. The Tornado's strengths are dissected. Terrain-following radar enabled low-level ingress while minimizing detection. Swing-wing geometry allowed for high-speed dives and tight, controlled turns. ECM systems disrupted F-16 radar locks repeatedly. Pilot-navigator coordination ensured that decision-making and reaction times were optimized. The implications are profound. NATO planners realized that in real-world scenarios, the Tornado's strengths could counter more numerous or ostensibly superior air assets. Training exercises are updated to account for these lessons, emphasizing multi-aircraft coordination, electronic warfare, and low-altitude tactics across all Allied squadrons. For the Tornado crews, the victory is as psychological as it is operational. The aircraft, once doubted, often ridiculed in American and European circles alike, has proven itself capable of holding its own against some of the most respected fighter pilots in the world. This success reshapes internal RAF perceptions as well. Confidence grows, doctrine evolves, and training intensity is validated. The plane, its crew, and its support teams are celebrated not through headlines, but through quiet recognition that resonates throughout the Air Force. Beyond NATO's training fields, the lessons travel. Analysts document the engagement for future exercises, noting that underestimation can be as dangerous as any enemy missile. The scenario is studied in flight schools, tactical seminars, and planning meetings. The Tornado's combination of technology, coordination, and strategy becomes a case study in leveraging strengths against assumed weaknesses. As the final flight logs are filed, the Tornado glides in for landing, engines humming with residual power. Snow swirls around the runway, mist clings to the surrounding hills. The aircraft touches down with precision, the crew unshaken. Onlookers, pilots, controllers, and NATO representatives watch in silence, absorbing what they have witnessed. In that moment, the narrative has shifted. The Tornado has stepped out of the shadow of doubt into the clarity of performance. This decisive exercise marks a turning point, not just for the aircraft, but for perception and doctrine across Allied forces. Where skepticism once dominated, respect now emerges. The scene is set for broader consequences. Operational changes, enhanced inter-allied collaboration, and a reevaluation of aircraft capabilities in multi-role combat. From here, the story moves to the aftermath, where the full consequences of these exercises are revealed. The recalibration of NATO strategy, the acknowledgement of Tornado's capabilities, and the human and technical lessons that endure long after the mist clears from the Scottish Highlands. The Tornado's performance in these exercises reverberated far beyond the misty valleys of the Scottish Highlands. Official debriefs and classified NATO reports noted the aircraft's effectiveness against multiple F-16s in simulated engagements, highlighting a combination of low-level penetration, electronic warfare, and precise coordination between pilot and navigator. While these encounters were training exercises, the lessons were immediately operational. The Tornado was no longer an underestimated strike aircraft. It had proven itself as a credible, multi-role platform capable of challenging modern fighters in complex scenarios. RAF leadership took note quickly. Squadron commanders emphasized that the success was not merely a product of advanced technology, but also of rigorous training and disciplined execution. Flight crews were debriefed extensively, with every maneuver analyzed for both success and improvement. Training manuals were updated to codify lessons learned. Terrain exploitation, ECM integration, and multi-ship coordination became core components of RAF doctrine. The psychological impact on crews was profound. Confidence replaced doubt, and a quiet pride grew among those who had flown the aircraft under scrutiny. Across NATO, analysts and planners reassessed long-held assumptions. The Tornado had demonstrated that tactical doctrine could outweigh raw maneuverability. The scenario revealed a critical insight. In multi-aircraft engagements, strategic use of technology, terrain, and coordination can offset disadvantages in speed or agility. Reports circulated noting that American F-16 squadrons, previously confident in their superiority, had been forced to confront limitations in their approach to low-level engagements. Training programs began incorporating exercises explicitly designed to counter the Tornado's strengths, acknowledging that even a single aircraft, properly managed, could dominate a numerically superior opponent. The engagement also influenced procurement and development discussions. European planners highlighted the Tornado's success as validation of the multinational collaboration behind its design. For Britain, the aircraft became a symbol of technological innovation, engineering precision, and strategic foresight. It was proof that design philosophy emphasizing versatility, survivability, and coordination could produce outcomes previously dismissed by critics. Equally significant was the effect on pilot psychology. British crews, long aware of skepticism from some NATO partners, felt vindicated. The exercises reinforced the importance of preparation, communication, and trust between pilot and navigator. For American pilots, the encounters instilled humility and respect. The Tornado was not merely a bomber, it was a capable adversary in any scenario that demanded tactical ingenuity. Post-exercise discussions emphasized this shift, and in subsequent engagements, F-16 units approached Tornado exercises with a more measured, analytical mindset. Beyond doctrine and strategy, these exercises also carried symbolic weight. Media reports, though limited in detail, hinted at Britain's technological and tactical innovation, and internal RAF communications celebrated the aircraft's performance without exaggeration. NATO partners, too, began acknowledging that the Tornado had exceeded expectations, particularly in scenarios designed to test its weaknesses. The aircraft's reputation began to shift from skepticism to quiet respect, a transformation that would influence inter-allied training, planning, and operational philosophy for years to come. As the dust settled on these exercises, the Tornado had accomplished more than any simulated victory could capture. It had reshaped perceptions, proven the value of coordinated strategy over raw speed, and underscored the importance of innovation, discipline, and teamwork. The stage was now set to explore the broader consequences of these exercises, how this validation impacted NATO doctrine, RAF deployment strategies, and the enduring respect earned for Britain's multi-role strike aircraft. The lessons of the 1985 exercises rippled through NATO's air forces, reshaping doctrine and operational planning. Analysts emphasized that the Tornado's combination of low-level penetration, electronic countermeasures, and pilot-navigator coordination had delivered outcomes previously thought impossible against a numerically superior force. Training protocols were revised. Multi-aircraft tactics now accounted for terrain exploitation and integrated ECM use, while scenarios involving the Tornado became benchmarks for evaluating Allied fighter effectiveness. For the RAF, the exercises reinforced confidence in the aircraft and its crews. Squadron leaders noted that the pilot's success was as much a testament to discipline and preparation as it was to engineering. Subsequent deployments incorporated lessons learned. Tornado squadrons emphasized multi-role flexibility, adapting tactics for both strike and air-to-air scenarios. The aircraft's reputation within the service shifted from skepticism to quiet pride. Young pilots were inspired, and veteran crews found vindication in the recognition of their skill and persistence. The United States Air Force also took note. F-16 pilots, initially dismissive, adapted their training to address the Tornado's strengths. Tactical manuals were updated, emphasizing the threat posed by coordinated, electronically sophisticated aircraft operating at low altitude. NATO exercises increasingly incorporated cross-training between Tornado and F-16 units, fostering mutual understanding while acknowledging that technological advantage alone did not guarantee dominance. These changes improved alliance interoperability and underscored the need to respect diverse aircraft philosophies. Operationally, the exercises influenced NATO planning for potential European contingencies. Analysts concluded that Tornado units could be decisive in interdiction missions and limited air superiority engagements, particularly in scenarios involving electronic warfare and multi-aircraft coordination. Even a single Tornado, when properly employed, could disrupt or dominate forces thought superior. This understanding informed deployment strategies throughout the late 1980s, including exercises simulating Warsaw Pact incursions, where Tornado squadrons were assigned pivotal roles in strike and reconnaissance missions. The psychological impact extended beyond tactics. Within the RAF, the aircraft became a symbol of British ingenuity and resilience. Crews who had once endured skepticism now carried a quiet assurance that their training, skill, and teamwork could overcome assumptions of inferiority. Among NATO allies, the Tornado earned respect not only as a capable aircraft, but as a platform that demanded thoughtful strategy and coordination to counter effectively. The narrative shifted. The Tornado was no longer the heavy bomber derided in the corridors of NATO air bases, but a credible, disciplined, and highly capable multi-role fighter bomber. Even decades later, declassified reports from these exercises illustrate the lasting influence of these events. Pilots recall encounters where Tornado tactics and ECM forced adjustments in formation, response timing, and interception strategies. NATO planners cite these exercises as foundational in understanding how multi-role strike aircraft can challenge more agile fighters through discipline, teamwork, and tactical innovation. The Tornado had quietly yet decisively reshaped perceptions of capability, influence, and inter-allied respect. The stage is now ready for reflection. The aircraft, its crews, and the lessons they demonstrated extend beyond the tactical. They offer a meditation on underestimation, preparation, and the power of human skill enhanced by technology. The next section will provide a calm, cinematic closure, exploring what this story means for history, warfare, and the enduring human element in aviation. The Tornado's story is not merely one of metal and machinery, it is a story of perception, skill, and the quiet triumph of preparation over assumption. In the frozen Scottish Highlands against 5 of the world's most celebrated fighter jets, it proved that innovation and discipline could outmatch speed and agility. The aircraft, once dismissed as cumbersome and specialized, became a symbol of precision, teamwork, and technological foresight. For the pilots, every flight was a lesson in trust in their instruments, in each other, and in the doctrine honed over years of training. Each maneuver was measured, deliberate, yet executed with the instinctive rhythm that only comes from experience and rigorous practice. The Tornado rewarded that trust, transforming skepticism into respect and doubt into pride. Beyond the cockpit, the lessons resonated across NATO. Doctrine adapted, training evolved. Alliances were strengthened not through confrontation, but through acknowledgement of capability and mastery. The engagement demonstrated that technological edge alone does not define outcomes. Human skill, strategy, and coordination remain decisive. The Tornado's success is a reminder that underestimation can be as consequential as any missile, and that excellence often emerges where expectations are lowest. Yet there is a philosophical layer to this history. The aircraft embodies the intersection of human ingenuity and mechanical potential. The collaboration of engineers, pilots, and commanders, each element contributing to a whole greater than the sum of its parts. It teaches a lesson about warfare and history alike. Preparation, adaptability, and respect for one's tools can overturn conventional wisdom, reshape narratives, and redefine legacy. The Tornado, once mocked, had earned its place in the skies and in history. Its story is not measured merely in flight hours or exercise points, but in the transformation of perception, the affirmation of skill, and the enduring truth that mastery is forged through diligence, discipline, and daring. In the quiet aftermath, above the snow-dusted highlands, the aircraft became more than metal. It became a testament to human capability, a reminder that the extraordinary often hides in plain sight, awaiting the moment to prove itself.